Welcome back from the break. I'm Kelsey Henquinet, Assistant Director with the DFR Lab. Over this week, we've heard a lot on the need for coordination between national governments, multilateral organizations, civil society, and the private sector to address attacks on civic freedom in the digital age. One of the individuals at the forefront of this coordination is Danish tech ambassador Anne-Marie Engtoft Larsen. From her seat in Silicon Valley, the ambassador is at the center of the Danish government's efforts on global governance for emerging technology. Today, we will hear about how Denmark works with allied institutions and civil society to invigorate democratic values globally, including through the launch of their new Tech for Democracy initiative. With that, it is my privilege to turn to Ambassador Larsen.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. It's such a pleasure to be here. First of all, thank you to Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab for organizing another successful 360 Open Summit. I am incredibly happy to be here, and I wish to really congratulate you on the Democracy for Tech initiative you launched last week with an incredible cohort of leaders and fellows. The initiative really speaks to the heart of our Danish efforts in technological diplomacy. For Denmark, it is a critical priority that technological development supports and upholds democratic values, human rights, as well as our societal model. Rather than undermining it, we need to figure out what are the ways where innovation, emerging technologies can really deliver on the promises that we have to them of creating a better, a fairer, more equal, more sustainable, and ultimately a more meaningful life for everyone, everywhere. Technology has never been more pervasive in our lives of people around the globe. Today, I am with you on a technological device. I've been on it my entire morning and most likely will be on it for the rest of the day. And COVID-19 has really reminded us to the great extent on which we as people depend on technology in our lives. New technologies has the potential to help some of the world's greatest challenges: climate change, economic development, health and education for everyone. And it is seemingly becoming such a part of our lives that we don't even notice it. Not only do we have devices in our pockets in front of us, it is becoming embedded into us, in the systems that we encounter, in the ways that we operate, the ways that we are in the world. However, the balance of tech has tipped. Today, a few very large tech companies, they spearhead technological development. And that's given up so many of the services and the products that we today take for granted, but that we are incredibly dependent on for living the lives that we want to. Today, some of these tech companies, they invest much more in research and development than many states around the world. And they have become enormously influential in a very short amount of time, both economically and politically. And they influence all parts of our lives, from smartphones to household items, to a new threat landscape, to questions of disinformation, campaigns trying to attack the very core of our democracies. They run very much of our critical digital infrastructure, and we all depend on it, especially when there are vulnerabilities on that digital system. When it comes to collecting data on a global scale, and not only predicting, but potentially really challenging our human behavior, changing, alternating it, big tech now have stronger capabilities than most governments, intelligence agencies, and ordinary companies. We therefore experience that a small number of people, they hold immense power over not just questions of technological items, funny gadgets, but the question of our global society. Where are we headed? How do we want to shape it? What are the values that we want to be fundamental to how the world develops around us? And this is a global society where we, for the past 2 decades, have experienced democratic backsliding. For the first time in 3 decades, we're seeing that some of the fundamental values that we hold dear, that we've taken for granted, that open, free, liberal democracies, they are challenged, they are undermined. We see autocratic states that have discovered the effectiveness of digital tools to suppress opposition, to monitor citizens, and to stifle democratic movements. I believe that democracies should be in control of digital development. We should set the clear framework, the boundaries, and the positives I think, create the imaginations of how technology can create better societies. This should not be up to individual private companies alone or autocratic regimes. At the summit here has so well illustrated, we need to strike the right balance between opportunities and challenges. Because don't get me wrong, I believe that innovation have offered us so much of what makes life enjoyable, of what makes it enriching, of what makes it more meaningful, create better opportunities. However, when we are faced with influence campaigns, cyber attacks, not only on companies, but also on our public infrastructure, on health, on our hospitals, on our utilities, when we see that public democratic communication and discussion is under pressure, when we see that digital surveillance is taking a leap forward, it is paramount that like-minded countries, civil society, and companies that support those same values, that we stand and work together, because no country can tackle this alone. That we share information, that we help to detect attempts at hostile interference and of shrinking the digital civic space, and that we come up with joint responses through close and strengthened international cooperation. Because I believe there is more that is uniting us than dividing us in these efforts. We absolutely need to strengthen the commitment to democratic values within the digital age. This is an essential avenue, and I think part of what we're seeing in rebuilding a transatlantic alliance will be absolutely critical. The EU and the US must together stand up for our shared values on democracy and on human rights worldwide, and make sure that as many people as possible globally, they can share the benefits of emerging technologies and of open societies. As tech allies, we are well equipped to shape the development and use of new technology in a more democratic direction, and to make big technology companies more accountable. The planned Democracy Summit of the Biden administration provides an opportunity, a call to action, for us to show an active role in steering this going forward. And so, speaking to the points of the need for cross-sector cooperation, international effort, Denmark a few weeks ago launched a new initiative, Tech for Democracy. With this initiative, we want to kickstart a new multi-stakeholder push to make sure that technology supports democracy, that innovation paves the way for democratic values, and that by harnessing technology, we not only reap the immediate benefits, but we make the overall lives better, society stronger, communities more thriving, more meaningful, and create better lives. To do that, we need to establish a closer and a more strategic dialogue with civil society and the tech industry as like-minded partners at the table, to be able to counter the challenges that technology represents to our democratic institutions and values. The initiative will therefore bring governments, the global tech sector, and civil society together around the same table to come up with commitments, not only lofty promises, but commitments, real deliverables, and put skin in the game to harness the immense potential of new and emerging technologies for the benefit of humanity and citizens globally. We will seek to forge new public-private partnerships in the spirit of Danish historical traditions around public-private partnerships, and make sure that we get as many as possible together on the goal and making sure that technology works for, not against, democracy and human rights. And so we will make sure to support the promoting of multi-stakeholder partnerships, shared commitment, true actions, and showing deliverables where technology is making sure that we work for democracy and for human rights, and that we do not wait, but we gain those benefits immediately. More specifically, this will include, first of all, a value pledge that brings states, the tech sector, civil society together to safeguard and expand the democratic space, to stand up for democracy defenders under digital attack, and to harness the potential of digital solutions to deliver better inclusion, participation, and opportunities for citizens globally. It will form around principles for solving some of the most acute tech democratic challenges, and it will counter issues such as digital surveillance, authoritarian internet shutdown, and social media's echo chambers and polarization. And then we'll focus on how we can expand democratic participation, increase public debate, and engage more people in not only elections, but the really critical timing between elections, where thriving public debate and citizen engagement is a cornerstone of a healthy and an active democracy. The pledge will moreover make it clear that joint commitment from both government, industry, and civil society is required. This will be based on the formulation of overarching principles around civic participation, digital resilience, and mobilization. Secondly, the initiative will advance on the solution side, clear commitments showing that this is not done only by tech companies and civil society and governments, but it's done together. Partnerships which will show tangible solutions within the first 12 months and emphasize that collaboration across sectors can and must work. There's already a lot to build on, and we are very happy to be working with international coalitions and initiatives around the world, identifying the concrete actions and way to mobilize support. One of the partnerships will focus on realizing the democratizing potential of social media. This includes the democratic debate on social media and make sure it becomes more inclusive and fact-based rather than polarized and conspirational. We already have the tools in our pockets to deeply engage with one another and discuss all policy matters and hear much more voices. But right now, we are not using the tools in the best possible way. By making sure that we not only talk to each other, but that we also listen to each other and to different voices and opinions is critical. That's why we prioritize an honest and open discussion rather than polarizing conflicts. And this is what this specific partnership will look on. There'll be a number of other partnerships, and we're looking forward to working with the various tech companies, civil society actors, and governments in making sure we come with clear and concrete deliverables on the table. Thirdly, and the final point to this initiative is that the initiative will focus on how to support democracy defenders through funding. This funding will support democratic development and the use of new technology in social organizations, movements, and media organizations. Because let's face it, today, the democratic defenders, they are not established organizations. They're often anonymous individuals mobilizing online in a short amount of time, and they need our support. They need our help. We will focus on this in the global South in order to develop and support action. We will also look with this funding of saying we need to have a massive funding into the public goods, into the digital infrastructure that is necessary for democratic defenders around the world, creating a better world. And so with this, we are looking into establishing a fund that will do exactly that, support where help is needed, and making sure that those democratic defenders around the world are not left on their own. As part of the initiative, the Danish Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Danish Minister for International Cooperation will invite representatives from governments, civil society, and the tech industry to Copenhagen in a hybrid format in November. This gathering will only be the start of what is an initiative and a Danish commitment to doing something about tech for democracy in the coming years. I would like to conclude this talk by reiterating a ground truth. Democracy is the result of long and patient efforts. It is an ongoing struggle, and threats to democratic norms and values will remain. We cannot and we must not take democracy for granted, because if we do so, we will lose it. So our job is to make sure that we can continue to improve our resilience against democratic backsliding, that we can continue to show that democratic values, democratic systems are not only really good at what they do, they are probably the best in ensuring a more inclusive, a more human-centered, a more sustainable, and a more meaningful future with technologies around us. So we must engage proactively and positively with new technology to make sure that innovation and technology is used to strengthen, to not undermine our democracies, but to build a much better world, delivering on the promises that we so much have had. With that, once again, thank you so much to the Atlantic Council, to the DFR Lab for having me here today and for organizing this important platform and conversation. I am honored to be among such prominent and knowledgeable people, and I look forward to continuing discussion and to work on behalf of the Danish government with all of you in making sure that we deliver on one of the most important promises of our time, to make sure that we safeguard democracy. And this becomes not something only for the historical books, but a way of living, a system of organizing, and fundamental values in the world going forward. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Ambassador Larsen, for joining us and for your leadership in building statecraft and diplomacy to set standards for technology that transcends borders.